Back when we were developing StarCraft, we were probably around 50 people.
We were about as scrappy as you could get. Small, passionate, it involved a ton of hours, but it was fun.
We had just come off of, Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2.
And we're like, hey, this is such a fun game, so we wanted to try our hand at doing a sci-fi version of it. StarCraft is what we spawned out of the whole thing. We had just been crunching a ton and found out we had this sort of show coming up, so we had to kind of make StarCraft really quick.
It really was just a reskin on the Warcraft 2 engine.
The colors were just super in your face. Everything was kind of overly thick and cartoony, and we still had like the top-down view.
And everybody was like, oh, basically orcs in space.
We kind of felt like we got our asses handed to us.
We need to make some serious changes. The vision was so far beyond what the technology could do at the time. We needed to redo the game engine in order to really get that vision that we had been looking for. Doing 3 races in StarCraft just seemed obvious. There's Terrans, there's creepy crawlies that became Zerg, and there's high-concept aliens that were the Protoss.
How do you balance 3 different races that are completely different?
The way to do it was to have counters for everything. So there are always strengths and weaknesses, and everything had something that could counter it, and then that actually added a lot of depth and strategy to the game. I don't know that we had quantified expectations, and certainly whatever those expectations were, it far exceeded them.
To the community, it became a platform for competition in ways that we couldn't have imagined.
We never really know what the true sort of worth of this game is, though, until our fans and our community get it. And then they show us the things that we've done right, they show us the things that we've done wrong, and they help us polish these games into the awesome games that they are.
It's really as a thank you and in support of that community that we decided to make the remastered version.
We're not trying to improve it. You can't mess with perfection. But rather, we're bringing what was cutting edge in 1998 back to today's standards in 2017.
StarCraft Brood War is still considered by many to be one of the best real-time strategy games ever made.
We learned so much with StarCraft. What makes a multiplayer game work?
We just really tried to make it as fair as possible and very competitive.
We really had no idea that it was going to turn into this huge global esport.
But when it really took off, everybody was pretty stunned. Certainly when we were going, wait, Korea? We didn't even localize this thing in Korean. What's happening over there?
Game rooms started to spring up, and the game of choice was StarCraft.
It was the competitive multiplayer and the ability to connect with your friends. That really is what propelled these PC bongs into the mainstream over there.
People knew who the best StarCraft player in their school was, and this whole generation of gamers really immersed themselves in learning the game.
These guys come out and actually just really be good at it and actually form esports. They just kind of merged out of the competitive play of StarCraft.
I traveled to Korea to the first esport event that I had ever attended.
We figured it was going to be a bunch of buddies going into their room with their PCs.
It was in an arena.
Being played up on a stage with this room full of 3,000 people that was only supposed to fit 2,000.
The pro players really introduced a level of play that we had never seen before.
They were moving their hands across the keyboards at lightning speeds.
They really got into the strategy behind it, but also the quirks of the game.
Dropping units out of shuttles and picking them back up again in order to blow things up. We just hoped the game didn't crash.
They developed this new sort of meta around playing the game. None of that went really into the original thinking behind it.
The meta's still evolving with StarCraft. How crazy is that? 20 years, and we're seeing new strategies. That's what makes multiplayer so important to the game, is that I learned something. I can come back and win now because Jaedong showed me how.
The reason we remastered StarCraft is for the community that continues to love and engage and play day in and day out.
The hope is that the updated graphics and the observer mode, we can make the community even larger, bring new people into the fold, and make this thing last another 20 years.
Blizzard is pretty unique in our support of our games.
We should continue supporting as long as people are playing. That's why the Classic Games is here now.
We're remastering StarCraft because it still has a huge following. There's so many players out there.
And we'd like to welcome those players into our current community.
We've taken incredible care remastering this game because we love it as much as the community does, and we'll be damned if we're going to break it.
The most difficult aspect of remastering it has been really going into the source code that's almost 20 years old now.
It is kind of funny seeing the names at the top of the files where this is code that's written by Mike Morheim or Frank Pierce. You can see the camaraderie in the way that they coded and in the comments that they left. And actually, the code is really good.
The gameplay section of it is not being touched at all. Nobody even goes into it.
We keep asking ourselves, have we changed the original game? Is it fun? Are we adding value to it? If the answer is no, we cut that feature or we look at a different way of doing it.
Spoken to all sorts of people, be the professionals or the streamers or the people who are just playing day to day to make sure that their experience is as good as what it was, and we can only enhance that.
The game's going to feel and act like it always has. You still have to micro in the same way, you still have to build units in the same way, and the strategies that worked 15 years ago will also work today.
We want to make sure that as soon as you look at it, you know it's StarCraft.
This is Jimmy. Sounds fun.
We've had a lot of people that look at it and their initial thoughts is like, what have you done? And we're like, what do you mean? And then we show them the low resolution version. They're like, oh my God, I don't remember it like this. I remember it like the HD version.
For making sure that the integrity of the look of the game stays the same. Tile sets are looking gorgeous, the units are looking gorgeous.
The ability to launch StarCraft from the Blizzard launcher and get straight into game and get straight into the chat channels.
You're playing your campaign, you know, your progress is being saved and you're finding out where your friends are. You're getting messages from other people on Battle.net.
Dynamic lighting should be really noticeable. It'll be an option, so once you turn it on, it'll change the way everything looks pretty drastically.
The community had ramps, so we decided that one of the things we are going to add are ramps, and they're going to be any size you want. You can expand them out, you can keep them small.
Another great feature is observer mode. You can pull out and see the whole landscape, and then you can zoom right into each one of the individual battles so that you're up close and personal in the action. The cool thing with StarCraft Remastered, for the professional player, it's still the game that they know and that they love. Like, we didn't change any of that. But for the viewer, everything that we put in has really been there to just help it light up and make it look fresh and new, and it's more accessible to them.
As much as I think everyone's going to be very excited to see this up-resed art in 4K, I think the most important element of it is uniting the classic StarCraft community with our current community of players.
Blizzard set out to make awesome games that bring people together. StarCraft Remastered is about carrying that tradition on. We do this for love of the community. We are part of it. We hope you enjoy it.